Because of Assyria's bloodshed, Jehovah decreed its destruction. His prophet foretold at Nahum 3:13,
To your enemies the gates of your land must without fail be opened. Fire will certainly devour your bars.
Did this prophecy of fiery destruction come true? Charred markings of raging fires on the walls of Sennacherib's palace verify the fulfillment of this prophecy. A Babylonian clay tablet relates the words of Nineveh's conquerors.
The great spoil of the city and temple they carried off, and turned the city into a ruined mound.
What was left of Nineveh? Two great mounds mark the site of a once proud capital. Arrogant Assyria dared to defy Jehovah God and was reduced to rubble. The next world power was revealed to Daniel. He saw four unusual creatures symbolizing kingdoms that would affect God's people. What did the lion with wings depict? The mighty Babylonian Empire. The city of Babylon was described by the prophet Isaiah as the decoration of kingdoms. A sprawling metropolis astride the river Euphrates and a center of world trade, its hanging gardens were famous as a wonder of the ancient world. An idea of the city's splendor can be seen from the reconstructed Ishtar Gate at the Museum of Western Asiatic Antiquity in Berlin. Babylon's greatest king was Nebuchadnezzar, referred to 91 times in the Bible. What was the Babylonian religion like? They worshipped the triad of the moon god Sin, the sun god Shamash, and a star symbolizing the goddess Ishtar. A model of an animal's liver was used to foretell the future. Ezekiel 21:21 says,
The king of Babylon has resorted to divination. He has looked into the liver.
How did Babylon relate to God's people? The Israelites had become disobedient to Jehovah. The prophet Jeremiah foretold captivity for them.
I shall give them into the hand of the king of Babylon, and he will actually take them into exile.
True to this prophecy, Jerusalem was devastated in 607 BCE. The Babylonian Chronicle confirms the capture of Jerusalem by King Nebuchadnezzar. How long would Babylon dominate Israel? Jehovah answers, 70 years. Then what would happen to Babylon? Jeremiah predicted,
There is a devastation upon her waters, and they must be dried up. The mighty men of Babylon have ceased to fight.
Did these details in the Bible prophecy come true? The date, October 5th, 539 BCE. Daniel relates that Babylonian King Belshazzar holds a feast for 1,000 prominent guests. They praise their false gods while drinking from sacred vessels looted from Jehovah's temple 70 years earlier. Outside, Medes and Persians have diverted the waters of the Euphrates River, which ran through Babylon. The soldiers slosh up the riverbed and into the city. Before the sun rises, Babylon is overthrown, and Belshazzar is dead. Babylon's mighty empire is finished. God had spoken. The Nabonidus Chronicle describes the fall of Babylon. It happened just as Jeremiah foretold. In one night, mighty Babylon's golden glory had lost its luster. Medo-Persia marched in to become the fourth world power of Bible history. As Daniel's dream foretold, it arose to devour much flesh like a hungry bear. Although different in culture and dress, the Medes and Persians functioned as a united power. The Persians were known for their archery and horsemanship. As their empire grew, so did their taste for luxury. Persian emperors built impressive palaces. The one located in Shushan is where Persian king Ahasuerus made the Israelite Esther his queen. Years before the event, Isaiah foretold the name of the Persian liberator of Israel, Cyrus. The prophet Jeremiah wrote that the holy utensils stolen from Jerusalem by Babylon would be returned. How did this happen? The words on the Cyrus cylinder explain.
I am Cyrus, king of the world. I return to these sacred cities, the images which used to live therein. I also gathered all their former inhabitants and returned to them their habitations.
True to his policy of religious toleration, Cyrus the Great allowed Jewish captives to return home and rebuild the temple of Jehovah at the end of the foretold 70-year captivity. By the 4th century BCE, the Medo-Persian world power was coming to its end. According to Bible prophecy, who would take over? Daniel 7:6 states,
I kept on beholding, and see there, another beast, one like a leopard, but it had 4 wings of a flying creature, and there was given to it rulership indeed.
This beast represented the rapidly moving Macedonian or Greek power coming from the west. But who could move the Greek army swiftly to conquer Persia? How was his role in history foretold 200 years in advance? In Daniel chapter 8, God's prophet sees Medo-Persia as a 2-horned ram. Next, a male goat proceeds to strike down the ram and break its 2 horns. Who is this male goat? Daniel 8:21 answers.
The hairy he-goat stands for the king of Greece.
At the age of 20, Alexander had become the king of Macedonia. 2 years later, he set out on a war of revenge against the Persians. A brilliant general, he controlled a huge empire before he was 30. Like a swift and agile leopard, and with lightning speed, Alexander the Great conquered the world of his day. Thus, Greece became the fifth world power of Bible history, larger than any preceding it. Alexander's conquest spread Greek culture and language throughout a vast area. It was the language later used to record the Christian Greek scriptures of the Bible. At the age of 32, Alexander wanted to make Babylon his eastern capital, but it was not to be. Speaking in symbolic language, Daniel prophesied,
"The male of the goats, for its part, put on great airs to an extreme. But as soon as it became mighty, the great horn was broken, and there proceeded to come up conspicuously 4 instead of it."
Alexander, at the peak of his conquests, was stricken with fever and suddenly died in 323 BCE. Alexander's vast empire was divided among 4 symbolic horns, 4 of his generals. The Greek Empire eventually broke into 4 separate kingdoms. The last of these kingdoms fell in 30 BCE to the next world power, Rome. Which beast would represent Rome? Daniel 7:7 describes it.
"A 4th beast, fearsome and terrible and unusually strong. It was devouring and crushing, and what was left it was treading down with its feet."
Rome became the greatest world power of Bible history when it organized the most powerful army the world had ever seen, crushing everything in its path. Evidence of this powerful empire can be seen in Europe, Asia, and North Africa. The glory of Rome is echoed in the words of Augustus Caesar.
"I found Rome built of bricks. I leave her clothed in marble."
The Caesars were worshipped as gods. Emperor worship was a test of loyalty for early Christians. An inscription from Asia Minor says of the emperor,
"He is the paternal Zeus and the savior of the whole race of man, who fulfills all prayers, even more than we ask."
Altars and temples were built for Caesar worship. Which Caesars are mentioned in the Bible? Augustus Caesar was emperor when Jesus was born, as recorded by the Gospel writer Luke.